Have you ever seen a smile that tells you everything is over? Not a happy smile, but the chilling, self-satisfied curve of the lips on someone who thinks they've gotten away with it all? I saw that smile on my wife, Sarah, on the exact day she claimed was the worst of her life. She walked into our Chicago brownstone, her face a perfect mask of exhaustion from a brutal day at the office, but her eyes held a flicker of triumphant light that didn't belong. Her phone clutched in her hand, pulsed with a notification she quickly silenced. That single, silent pulse was the first tremor of an earthquake that would tear my world apart. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. For 10 years, Sarah was my world. We built a life on the north side, renovating a classic graystone just off Lincoln Park. I was a structural engineer, a man who believed in foundations, in things that were built to last. She was a high-flying marketing executive, sharp and ambitious. I admired her drive, the way she commanded a room. I never saw that ambition as a weapon that would one day be aimed at me. The change was subtle at first. Late nights at the office became more frequent. Her phone became an extension of her hand, angled away from me with a practiced casualness. She started talking about a new colleague, Mark, a creative genius who was helping her land a massive new account. The way she said his name, with a little too much reverence, was a splinter under my skin I chose to ignore. The humiliation began in small doses. We were at a dinner party with friends, and someone asked about our anniversary plans. Before I could answer, Sarah laughed, a brittle sound. God, is that next month? I've been so swamped, I can't even think that far ahead. She looked at me, and for a second I saw not my wife, but a stranger evaluating a piece of furniture she was tired of. The room felt silent, my friends' pitying glances like tiny needles. I felt my face burn. Later that week, I found a receipt from the Langham Hotel downtown. A charge for 2 cocktails at the bar, dated on a night she was supposedly working late on a presentation. When I asked her about it, her face hardened. It was a client meeting, Alex. Do you not trust me? Do you have any idea the pressure I'm under? The words were a slap, designed to make me feel small, to make me question my own sanity. And for a while it worked. I was the unsupportive husband, the one who didn't understand her high-stakes world. The villains, Sarah and Mark, felt untouchable. They were careless, emboldened by my trust. I'd hear her on the phone in the other room, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, accentuated by low, throaty laughs that I hadn't heard directed at me in years. One evening I came home early, hoping to surprise her. I walked into our bedroom and she was standing there, holding a new silk blouse against her chest, a dreamy look on her face. She didn't hear me enter. It's perfect, she whispered to herself. I love it. He hung in the air between us when she finally saw me. Panic flashed in her eyes, quickly replaced by annoyance. You scared me, she snapped, throwing the blouse on the bed. It's for the client gala next week, but I knew it wasn't for a client. It was for him. My breaking point came on a rainy Tuesday. I had a gut feeling, a cold dread that had been coiling in my stomach for weeks. I left work and drove to her office building on Wacker Drive. Her car was gone. On a hunch, a sick, desperate impulse, I drove toward the Gold Coast, and there it was. Her navy blue BMW parked on a side street just off Rush Street. I sat in my car, the rain blurring the world outside, and I watched. An hour later, they walked out of a small, expensive-looking restaurant, the kind of place we used to go for special occasions. It was him, Mark. He was smug, handsome in that generic, overconfident way. He put his hand on the small of her back, and she leaned into him, her head resting on his shoulder for just a moment. They were a portrait of intimacy. In that moment, watching my wife give another man the affection that was once mine, something inside me didn't just break, it vaporized. The loyalty, the love, it all burned away, leaving behind something cold, hard, and terrifyingly clear. That night, I didn't confront her. Broken man was gone, replaced by an engineer, a planner. My grief turned into fuel for a machine of meticulous destruction. For the next 3 months, I became a ghost in my own life. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop who specialized in matrimonial cases. He was worth every penny. He gave me photos of them kissing in a parking garage in River North, entering a boutique hotel on a Wednesday afternoon. He gave me timelines, dates, and locations that matched up perfectly with her late nights and work emergencies. I opened a new bank account, and began quietly moving my savings. I contacted a lawyer, one of the most ruthless divorce attorneys in Chicago. We met in a sterile office overlooking the river, laid out the photos. "I don't just want to divorce her," I said, my voice steady. "I want to dismantle her." The trap was set in two parts: legal and social. Legally, her infidelity, documented with cold, hard proof, would void the prenuptial clause that entitled her to half of my assets in a short-term marriage. Socially, the trap was far more elaborate. Sarah's biggest client, the one she'd been working so hard to impress, was a conservative, family-owned company from the Midwest. Their public image was everything. Sarah was due to give the final presentation for a multi-million-dollar contract at a large industry conference held at McCormick's place. She'd been bragging about it for weeks, about how this was her moment, the culmination of her genius. She even invited me to come and watch her triumph. "You'll see what I've been working for," she'd said, a condescending pat on my arm. Oh, I would. The day of the presentation, the main hall was packed. Sarah was on stage, glowing under the spotlights, a picture of corporate success. Mark was in the front row, looking up at her like a proud puppy. Her bosses were there. The clients were there. I was in the back, a ghost in the crowd. Her presentation was flawless, full of buzzwords and confident projections. As she reached her crescendo, her final, powerful slide about trust and partnership, the two massive screens on either side of her flickered. Her smiling corporate headshot was replaced. On one screen, a crystal-clear photo of her and Mark, locked in a passionate kiss in the elevator of the Langham Hotel. On the other, a shot of them walking hand-in-hand into a hotel, the date and timestamp clearly visible in the corner. A collective gasp sucked the air out of the room. Sarah froze, her mouth open, her face draining of all color. She looked from the screen to Mark, then to her bosses, whose faces were masks of horror. Her eyes frantically scanned the crowd, and finally they found me. I stood there, my face a blank canvas, and I just held her gaze. In my eyes she saw the ghost of the man she'd betrayed and the architect of her ruin. The client stood up and walked out without a word. Her boss followed, his face purple with rage. The hall erupted in whispers. She was left alone on that stage, the damning photos of her infidelity projected 10 feet high for the entire industry to see. She was ruined, fired before she even stepped off the stage, blacklisted. She came home that night a wraith. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a hollow, desperate fear. The legal papers were waiting for her on the polished mahogany table in the foyer. She saw them and crumpled, a wailing, pathetic heap on the floor. I just stepped around her and went upstairs to finish packing my bag. I didn't say a word. There was nothing left to say. The last time I saw her was in a courtroom. She looked thin, tired, a shadow of the vibrant woman I once loved. The judge granted the divorce on grounds of adultery. She got nothing. I walked out into the cold Chicago air free. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that smile she wore on the day it all began. The smile of a woman who thought she had it all, who thought she was smarter than everyone. It's a quiet, haunting thought. I wonder if she ever smiles now, at the end.